Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Red Shadow here, and I'm back with not as quite a bright light there, but no, anyway, this is my May 2023 pickups. Had to think about it for a second, and I'm actually sitting here on the early morning of June 1st getting this recorded, so it's trying to get into that routine of getting this up and done when it should be done. Now, I can't say exactly when it's going to get uploaded, but hopefully you're seeing this sometime within the first 3 days of June. Anyway, not a whole lot of stuff to show here. It's like 9 or 10 games, 4 movies, and a CD. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. So the one CD that I picked up this month was kind of a spur-of-the-moment decision. Listening to a lot of old 80s music on YouTube, and remembered that I used to have this CD. I don't think I have it anymore, and I regret getting rid of it, because if I had the first print of this particular CD Greatest Hits box set, it's way pricier on eBay than this plain version of it. But anyway, this is the Cars Anthology, Just What I Needed. This came out in 1995, I believe, or somewhere thereabouts. I've been a Cars fan since the mid-'80s, with songs like Drive and Uh-Oh, It's Magic, Touch and Go, Just What I Needed. And this has 40 songs of theirs on here. It's every single big hit that I remember of theirs, and then a lot of B-sides and just really unknown stuff. There's at least a couple of demo songs on here. And like I said, this is just like a standard double CD set, because there's 2 discs in here, 20 songs on each disc. But when this first came out in the 90s, I caught on to it. I'm not even sure where I saw it. Might have been in a store. It had, I believe, this kind of a case inside of a really cool purple shiny, sort of like you see on here, but like a sparkly purple box or whatever that went over this. I'm still entertaining the thought of picking up one of those on eBay. I've been watching one on eBay that was more than $50, so that's why I'm kind of holding off for now, but I might want to get something like that down the road. Like, if you're a Cars fan, I think this is the way to go, because, you know, it's been almost 30 years since this came out. Yeah, that's almost 30 years since this came out, and this is going to have everything that they were well known for on it. There may be smaller, more succinct, you know, like 15-track greatest hit CDs that are available out there, but I'll just tell you, with shipping, I paid less than $10 for this on eBay. So that's my first pickup and my only CD for this month. I have 4 movies, so quick tale on this. This was from my first ever order with movie company Kino Lorber. They sell Blu-rays, DVDs, I imagine too, but everything I own of theirs is Blu-ray. This is my first time ever ordering directly from them. I have a couple of Kino Lorber movies on my shelves, but I bought all of those either from eBay or Amazon. These are my first and only movies that I've ordered directly from them. Now, they remind me a little bit of Steam and other places like that. On some of the Facebook groups I'm on, people are always talking about, hey guys, it's Kino Lorber's big sale time. And I've always just stayed away from looking to see what they were selling. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole of spending a bunch of money on, like, finding another place to dump a bunch of money, especially with the kind of movies that they sell. Like, they sell some things that I would consider to be mainstream, but a lot of them are kind of offbeat movies. But since they had their sale on, I wanted to know how good their sale prices were, so I went and I visited their website a couple weeks back, and I just went in and clicked on the drag down of where you list all the movies that are there, I said list from price lowest to highest. And then I went through the first like 2, maybe 3 pages. And every single one of these movies I didn't pay more than I think $7 or $8 for. So I just picked some stuff that looked interesting, or due to the actors that were in them, I picked these 4 movies. So we're going to start off with The Crucible with Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder. I've heard of this movie. I know both of them, in particular Winona Ryder, from things like Beetlejuice. Daniel Day-Lewis, I think the only movie that comes to mind, 2 movies that come to mind I've seen of his, is There Will Be Blood and the Abraham Lincoln movie. So I grabbed this, like I said, simply because of who was in it. And if I remember right, it had pretty decent ratings. It's a 90s movie, though, that I never saw. The next thing I bought here is called Bodies, Rest, and Motion. This starring a bunch of big name actors from that time: Phoebe Cates, Bridget Fonda, Tim Roth, and Eric Stoltz. So once again, I just sort of looked to see who was in it, and then I looked up what the movie was about. And each one of these, I was just like, yeah, I'd pay $6, $7, $8 for that. So I got that. Then the next thing I have here is, and I may mispronounce this, but it's Tristan and Isolde. James Franco and Sophia Myles are who are in this. I remember seeing this movie title, and I think it was because this came out in 2006. So this was early on, the first few years I was working at Walmart in electronics. So I'm sure this was a movie that was on our shelf at some point. Just once again, people who are in it read up about the movie and decided, sure, I'd add that to the collection. And then the last one here, this has got some big name people in it, but kind of looks like the most low budget or offbeat movie. But this is The Favor. This has got Brad Pitt in it, Bill Pullman, Elizabeth McGovern. Like, these are names that I know. This is from 1994. I don't think I ever saw this movie when it originally came out, but I couldn't pass up a movie with some of the star power that's in it, even if it's not great. I think out of the 4 movies, this is the one that had the lowest ratings as far as like IMDb. But once again, cheap, so why not? All right, now let's dive into the movies. We're going to start with 3 from Limited Run Games, all of which came in just like basically the last week or so. So the first one I'll have to show here is Arafel Enhanced Edition and Rise of the Third Power. Now this is not one game with a very long and wordy title. This is actually 2 separate like RPGs, JRPG in style, that they're not made by Japanese developers as far as I know. I'd never heard anything about them, but when Limited Run put this one up, it sounded like these were well thought of RPGs. And to be honest, I have a lot of the the Kemco RPGs that get put out by LRG, and I know that they're probably not of great quality, but these seem to have a little bit of a better reputation, so I jumped on them, especially when it's 2 games in one package like that. And next up is A Boy and His Blob. So I know that this was like an older game from, I want to say, the NES era. And then it had sort of a reimagining for the Nintendo Wii. I believe that's what this one is based off of, but it's on PS4. And I always thought that it looked kind of cute, kind of looked like it would be an interesting game to play. And I just never really imagined it would become available to buy like this for PS4. So I had to get that one. And then the last of the 3 I got from Limited Run this month is Full Throttle Remastered. So this completes the Lucasfilm Games trilogy for me, the ones that I think about. I now own Full Throttle. I think last month I showed Day of the Tentacle Remastered, and then a couple years ago I got Grim Fandango Remastered from, I want to say that was I Am 8-Bit. So now I've got the 3 of those. Long since heard of these games, these sort of cinematic point and click Lucasfilm adventure games from back in the day. Don't know why I never touched those games in the 90s when I had a PC and I was playing a lot of, point and clicks and full motion video games and stuff like this. Like I played Broken Sword, and I did play some Monkey Island type stuff back then, but I never did touch any of these 3 games. So now this being the third and the final one of that group, happy to have all of those. Now the next 2 games were some misadventures in Amazon. I haven't bought stuff on Amazon in several years because the email that's attached to my account over there, I haven't had access to that email in like 5 years. And I have not been able to, the few times I've tried to sort that out with Amazon, I haven't had much luck. So I just kind of let it go. So at some point I managed to get back into that account, even though it's still attached to this email. So I was shopping on there and I found a couple of cheap games, and I thought, I'm going to order these because they're really cheap. And I forgot one of the things you always have to do with any online retailer that sells, like allows third-party sellers. Make sure you're getting your games sent from Amazon or one of their, I don't know what it is, Prime sellers, and not just one of the regular third parties, because you don't know what the third-party sellers are going to send you. So the first game that I ordered was a game called Edge of Eternity, kind of a cheap, low budget. It's even from GS2 Games. I think they're the publisher, and they're usually responsible for some cheapo games. But this game always looked like something that came from Square Enix or one of those kind of companies. So I ordered it, and this is what I got. It's Edge of Eternity, but it's PS5. I don't own a PS5. Someday I will own a PS5, but right now I don't own a PS5. My intention with the PS5 was to get just the big games, the Grand Theft Autos and the Ubisoft games like Far Cry and Final Fantasy 16, stuff like that, not stuff like this. But my only course of action would be to send it back to them and get a refund. I tore it off, but there was a sticker here over the UPC that literally said Edge of Eternity PS4, so it was their mistake. But I could also just keep it, and it could be one of my PS5 games. If this is a real low budget kind of game, it might benefit me to play it on PS5, where it's probably going to run better. I still haven't firmly decided. This was about $15, and I can pick up the PS4 version for around $11, and then I could sell this one for $15 or $20 maybe. The jury's still out on that, but for now it's a pickup, and there it is. So then the other game that I ordered at the same time is this. This is The Police 2. I have the first game, although I've never played it. I thought I needed to get the sequel, and this one was like $8, so I grabbed it. But the problem with this one, not that it matters, because region free and all that, but it's a PAL copy, and the listing that I paid for was for an NTSC copy. This one, that's kind of a little ADD or whatever, OCD kind of thing to worry about. So I'm not planning on doing anything about it. It'll just go on the shelf and it'll get played, but that just kind of bothered me. Lesson learned, always remember to check who or what you're buying from when you're on Amazon, eBay, even Walmart.com allows third-party sellers, and I think Best Buy and Target might as well. Just always make sure you're paying attention to who you're ordering it from, or you might end up with shit like that. Alright, next up here is Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song. A cheap pickup that I got from Best Buy? No, this was from Walmart. It was also from a third-party seller, but it was one of Walmart's pro sellers, or whatever they call them. So I took a chance because this was like $14, I believe. Anyway, the Vampire the Masquerade series has been highly interesting to me for years. I didn't play the original Bloodline or Bloodlines back in the early 2000s, but somewhere over the years I'd heard about it, and then I watched some YouTubers play it in the last decade or so, and it intrigued me. And a couple years ago, when they announced that they were going to make a Bloodlines 2, I was down, and I was ready. Now it's kind of in development turmoil right now. We'll see if it does come out, but I'm still eagerly awaiting whatever does arrive. Well, in the meantime, the last couple of years, they've dropped a few other games. This Swan Song is another, like, third-person action RPG-ish with a narrative and all that, and that sounds good to me, especially for the price. They had Blood Hunt, the online battle royale style game that I think is already getting the plug pulled on it. And then there's going to be like a pair of games released together that were like visual novels in the Vampire the Masquerade universe. And so whenever that comes out, I'm going to try to get that. Just a little series that I want to get. I have the original Bloodlines on Steam. That'd be a fun one to get a physical for, but I'm not holding my breath on that. Alright, last 3 games here. This is one I debated actually holding out and getting on PS5, but it was another cheap one, and I kind of want to play it now-ish, like maybe say this year instead of waiting a couple more years. But anyway, that's Kena Bridge of Spirits. One of the games that was shown in like one of the original PlayStation showcases, and it looked really cool. Had the little Pikmin-like creatures that are called it's something weird, it's like rot, but I'm not seeing it on the back of there now. But anyway, the developers of this have done a lot of high quality like CG animation, so it shows in the quality of this game. I know that the game is supposed to be a little on the tough side, so we'll see how far I make it in it. But I am glad to have gotten that one, like I said, sooner rather than later. And then here's another game that I could have waited on the PS5 version, but it had a sale. This game is, only like 6-7 months old, and it's gotten kind of reviews are all over the place for it. But that's the Callisto Protocol. This is by some of the developers and the creator, the head developer of Dead Space, did this game. Came out like a month or so before the Dead Space remake. Some people really liked it. Some people thought it was kind of a weak first effort for his team. Striking Distance, I believe, is the actual developer. And like I said, I probably would have held off for the PS5 version for the increased visuals and performance. But when this suddenly was $20 after it had been $60 or whatever, I thought I may as well pick that up. Alright, and my last game here, I always kind of save the last game for something that's really cool or really weird. And in this case, this month, it's going to be the latter. It's going to be a weird one. But this is 88 Antarctica. This is a game from a company called Limited Rare Games. Not to be confused with Limited Run. This is a company that puts out bizarre and weird and odd titles, and they don't, unlike Limited Run that's slamming releases out every month. These guys only do something about once a year or twice a year, and I've missed a couple of their games. This just so happened to go up for sale sometime in the evening my time on Halloween night, and I just happened to flip over to their Twitter, or I went straight to their website, and they were selling a game. And I thought, well, I'm going to take my chance because I know several people who've ordered from them have gotten their games. I've heard some horror stories about people never seeing the games that they buy from them. But I thought, of all the things that they put out, this was the first thing that they released that I thought to myself, I would play that. Even though it's basically like a Unity-based kind of mobile game, and HowLongToBeat.com shows around about an hour to fully play and beat this game. But I don't care. I mean, I've opened it. It's open. There's the disc. I'm not holding it and keeping it shut, even though it was already up on eBay within the first few days that people were getting them in for $100 or more dollars. I'm proud to put this on the shelf, and because I'm a fan of bad video games, just like I'm a fan of bad movies, anytime I can get something weird and schlocky like this and put it on the shelf, I'm happy about that. All right, well, those are the May 2023 pickups. Hopefully I kept this a little bit more short and snappy, and I do plan on I have one or two like video ideas to put up before the next, the June pickups video will be out in the month. One particular thing I wanted to talk about, I mulled whether I would or whether I wouldn't, and I've decided that I will. I just want to sit down and talk about the PlayStation Showcase from last week, about a week ago at this point. I've got opinions on, like, was it a good show or wasn't, and just my overall thoughts, and I want to go over all the different games that were shown. So that'll be at some point, probably well after everybody stopped talking about it, probably around the time that Summer Games Fest and all that is going on, and I'll be like, hey, remember that thing that happened a couple weeks ago? So anyway, look forward to that if you're even watching at this point, and we'll see you whenever I put that up.